Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim's Special Edition. My name is Camel, and today we're going to delve into the obscure particulars of the game and run through 10 things that you didn't really need to know about Skyrim, but secretly you totally need to know them. Timestamps can be found down in the description, along with links to my social media and to my other Skyrim Special Edition videos. Be sure to check all of that out. And if you do have any interesting facts or little tidbits, pieces of trivia about Skyrim, be sure to let me know down in the comments, and maybe we'll make another one of these. So first up, Mephala. She is one of the Daedric princes, and known by the names of Web Spinner, Spinner the Spider. Her spheres are lies, sex, murder, secrets, and plots. She enjoys seducing and interfering in mortal affairs for her own amusement. Sounds like my Windows updates. Most Skyrim players will be familiar with Mephala through the Daedric quest The Whispering Door, in which we'll receive the Daedric artifact, the Ebony Blade, which I do have a guide on if you want to check that out. Now during this quest, we hear a rumour about Jarl Balgruf's child acting strangely. In this case, strangely translates to the kid acting like a little turd. Now after some inquiring and poking around, we'll be led to an old and locked door, deep within the bowels of Dragonreach. Here lies the Whispering Door. From behind this door, the fear-inducing Queen of Spiders Mephala will speak to us. Now, as scary as she is, if one is so inclined to use console commands to prematurely unlock the door, well, instead of an open room, or instead of the horrific sight of Mephala herself, instead of all that, we'll find a cupboard in the way. Meet Mephala. That's right, this cupboard is the object in which the voice of Mephala is attached to. So technically, in Skyrim, the Daedric Prince of Sex and Lies is a chest of drawers. Elder Scrolls or Beauty and the Beast, I mean, which universe are we in here? So next time you think Mephala is scary, just remember she is full of underwear and socks. And if you do open this door, unfortunately Mephala is in the way, and you cannot enter the room and pick up the Ebony Blade, which we can see is on the table behind her, or it, or this cupboard, or whatever the hell is going on here. So I don't know if Mephala being a cupboard makes her less scary, or if we should all be much more afraid of our bedside tables. But let's move on to the next one. So Karliah. One of the few characters you can't marry that people also wish they could. She is a vital part of the Thieves Guild questline and a fan favourite, especially when it comes to her voice acting. In fact, Karliah is one of, if not the most prominent Dunmer characters in Skyrim. You know, the Dunmer, the Dark Elves, with their ashen skin and dark red eyes. Yeah, red eyes. Oh, that's right. For some weird unexplained reason, Karliah is the only Dunmer or Dark Elf in the game to not have red eyes. Instead, she has these enchanting purple or violet, lilac, lavender, whatever colour this is, they're not red. Now it is strange because the Kai'ma were cursed by Azura and transformed into the Dunmer. So they went from golden skin and golden eyes to be cursed eternally as a race and have ash for skin and dark red eyes like their land of Morrowind. So the red eyes of the Dunmer isn't a genetic thing, but comes from a less understood and more arcane source. A curse put upon them by Azura for their betrayal of the good Daedra, but that's a story for another day. So for this rule or this curse to be broken in a sense is strange indeed. Perhaps Karliah has ascended beyond the curse. Maybe they've been cursed for so long that the genetics have mutated. But what I do know is that Karliah is the only Dunmer or Dark Elf in Skyrim to not have red eyes. Not only that, but she has these lovely purpley pink eyes. And also, just in case you didn't know, Karliah is actually the granddaughter of Queen Baranziah, and also the granddaughter of Draven in Doril. But Queen Baranziah is actually seen in the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall and in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind's expansion Tribunal. But more importantly, she's actually part of the royal family of Mournhold, the capital city of Morrowind. So, Karliah might just have a claim to the throne of Morrowind. Who knows? But back to the point. She's got these unique, beautiful eyes for whatever weird reason. No one knows. So, best we keep an eye on these genetic transgressions. Yes, now the dragon language. We're all familiar with the dragon language in Skyrim, no doubt we've all seen it a million times with all of the dragon word walls that we learn shouts or pieces or fragments or sections of a shout from. But did you ever stop and look at the script and think about who wrote it? Well, it turns out that Skyrim's dragon language was actually designed so that it could be written by a dragon using its claws. That's why it has such a sharp and harsh design, because it was literally created and written by dragons using their sharp dragony claws. That's why we can find it with this very specific and brutal motif. It was carved into the stone by dragons of old. Quite a neat touch that makes a lot of sense, but one very few would actually stop to think about. Next up, watch out for your pants, because we have ants. That's right. There are ants in Skyrim. They can only be found on a select few tree stumps in the game. In fact, there are only 5 places in the entire game of Skyrim where ants can be found. There's a stump outside Cracked Tusk Keep, there's one in front of Half Moon Mill, there's one across the river from Riverwood, there's one next to the Riverwood Lumber Mill, and there's one outside at Lakeview Manor added by the Hearthfire DLC. Now these ants serve no purpose other than just being a reminder of the immense and insane level of detail that Bethesda Game Studios put into the games that they make. In fact, Todd Howard even referenced these Skyrim ants during an interview, and I quote, "If you look down once in a while, there are certain wood boards or log stumps, and if you look at them closely, you'll see ants crawling across them. 99.9% of the people playing the game won't notice that, but we know it's there. And when you're done looking at the ants on the ground, take a moment to notice the gorgeous trees." End quote, Todd Howard. So it just goes to show the team's attention to detail. Yes, this next one is weird. Inside Raven Rock Mine on Solstheim, which I've just done a CCC video for that you should definitely check out, it's a lot of fun, but inside the Raven Rock Mine, there is an East Empire Company strongbox that can be found underneath the table on the upper wooden level of the antechamber as soon as you enter Raven Rock Mine. Now, if this strongbox is lock-picked open while your character has the wax key perk active, which will give you a copy of a key to any lock picked if there is a key that goes with that lock. Now, if this is done with that perk active, a copy of the appropriate key will be added to your inventory as expected. However, the key you receive from performing such a task is a weird one. As we can see here, it's called Brand-Shei's Strongbox key. Well, who is Brand-Shei? He is actually a Dunmer shopkeeper residing in Riften, where he sells miscellaneous goods from his stall during waking hours. His character literally has zero relation to Raven Rock Mine or this strongbox within it. So why the key to this strongbox is his? Well, that's a mystery, although I do have a theory, and while this isn't the time or place for it, I'll treat you to it anyway. So Brand-Shei is the victim in the first Thieves Guild quest in which you have to hide stolen goods on his person, while Brynjolf distracts everyone with his Falmer blood potion. Now, under Brand-Shei's stall, we'll notice that there is a strongbox that requires a key to be opened. You can actually get the key from him by doing a quest which involves finding his original parents. And of course, because this strongbox belongs to Brand-Shei, the key that opens it is, of course, Brand-Shei's key. So the most likely explanation for this is that the developers reused this very strongbox in Raven Rock Mine without changing the owner of it, resulting in a strongbox in Raven Rock technically belonging to Brand-Shei, a Dunmer merchant in Riften. Now, if you do open this strongbox in Raven Rock Mine and get the key, you can actually go to Brand-Shei's stall in Riften, open up the little cupboard at the bottom, and then unlock the chest and get the loot within, and it will not be considered stolen either. So it is a nice little way to get some free loot. But for now, let's continue Brand-Sheiing on through the list. Yes, now next up we have Miraak, the first Dragonborn. And did you know that he has 2 faces? And not in a poetic sense, but in a literal one. Miraak the First Dragonborn, the primary antagonist in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim's DLC Dragonborn, possibly one of the most powerful and oldest mortals in all of Tamriel. With his strikingly distinctive mask that pierces our hearts with fear. But have you ever thought of taking that mask off once you defeat him? Well, you'll be disappointed, as sadly, Miraak never got his own face, and he will receive one of 2 randomly generated bandit faces, making his whole presence and character a little less epic and just a bit more meh. Miraak? More like Miraak. Anyway, he literally has the same face as bandits you've killed over and over throughout Skyrim. Not too impressed, Bethesda. Please give the primary antagonist a unique face next time. Might make the character a little more memorable. Now next we have one similar to Mephala being a cupboard. During the Daedric quest, The Taste of Death, at the end of which we receive the Ring of Namira, which I do have a guide for if you wish to check it out, but it will allow the wielder to feast upon corpses. Anyway, during this quest we will get to speak to Namira, also known as the Mistress of Decay, the Devourer of the Dead, and the Spirit Daedra, whose sphere is ancient darkness, sundry dark and shadow spirits. She is associated with spiders, insects, slugs, and other repulsive creatures which inspire mortals with an instinctive revulsion, a fearsome and dark Daedric prince. But while on this quest and after she's finished talking or before, if we use the Detect Life spell in this room, we might spot something off in the distance. To inspect further, we'll have to use the TCL command to go through walls, and what we'll actually find is a Bosmer woman in a secluded room or cell off into the nether realms in which we were never meant to explore. This is strange, but this Bosmer is named the Voice of Namira. And like the cupboard with Mephala, this Voice of Namira is a placeholder for the Daedric Prince's voice, Namira. Interestingly, the Voice of Namira character model is also identical to the dealer of Redwater Den, who reused this exact same model. So maybe Namira likes some skooma from time to time, eh? Now, while I don't really know if this was intentional, out of the 10 races they could have chosen to be the voice of Namira, it does actually make the most sense for it to be a Bosmer or a Wood Elf. Because, as we know, the Ring of Namira that we get from the quest lets you perform cannibalism. And in the Bosmeri culture, it is a custom to eat your fallen enemies after a battle. So cannibalism is actually part of their culture and not frowned upon in any way, at least in Valenwood. So don't know if it was intentional, but they definitely got the character race correct when it comes to the voice of Namira. Moving on into the cold dark, in the midst of the Pale, south of Dawnstar, there lies a fort named Fort Dunsted. It is filled with bandits and the like and isn't really much of interest. However, there is actually a tavern here called the Stumbling Saber Cat. That's a weird name. Anyway, if we head on inside, we'll see that it's also populated by bandits. But there's actually a little hidden secret in here. While in general the interior looks like a pretty standard tavern, and I mean it does, it is a standard tavern. Above the fireplace, if we raise our eyes up, we'll spot a mounted saber cat head, which, as we can see, has a bottle of wine in its mouth and a circlet on top of its head. So the tavern's name actually alludes to the mounted saber cat head above the fireplace and the bottle of wine lodged within its mouth. Its head is also tilted at a funny angle, suggesting that it's drunk. The wine also backs up that suggestion. It's got a circlet on its head like a little tiara or something, maybe it just turned 18, who knows. But it has had a few and is getting rowdy. And this is the Stumbling Saber Cat that the tavern is named after. And to be quite honest, I would actually love to see a drunk saber cat. Its whiskers would turn to wobbles. Now, if you've ever been to the Reach, I'm sure you have visited the ancient Dwemer city of Markarth. Some, like myself, love it, while others cannot stand it. Well, if we go into Understone Keep, there will be some Thalmor in here, the leader of which is an unsurprisingly brash and pompous man named Ondolemar. Now, have you ever just looked at this guy's face and known there was something special about him? Well, for no good reason, and purely for the pursuit of trivia, Ondolemar's mouth is unique to him. And as such, it is not available for use in character creation, so in case you like the look of this mouth, you cannot have it. It's also not used by any other NPCs within the game. So why is this so? Well, it's only up to the 9 divines to know, or in Ondolemar's case, the 8 divines, because Talos worship is outlawed, of course. So be sure to tell your friends about this, as this will only spread through word of mouth. Word of unique mouth. And finally, one you may know, and if so, it's still really cool, and if not, it's even cooler, especially if you played The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. So have you ever been annoyed by the boundaries of Skyrim, the gated off paths and invisible walls preventing you from exploring beyond Skyrim? Well, it is of course understandable why these borders are in place, but have you ever wondered what you've been missing out on? I can tell you, not much, but with the help of some console commands, mods, or tweaks with the Skyrim INI files, we can remove the borders and boundaries, preventing us from exploring beyond Skyrim's borders. And while the majority of the stuff out here is just poorly textured landscapes or rough sculptures of what would be the provinces around Skyrim, there is one really cool thing that we can find out here that developers put here for the keen explorers, well beyond where the player can traverse. If we head south of Riften over the Geralt Mountains and down into the heart of Cyrodiil, we'll spot something that at a distance looks very familiar, because it is. Bethesda Game Studios, despite players not being able to get here at all, added the white gold tower of the Imperial City, built by the Ayleid and designed to mimic the Adamantine Tower or Dyreni Tower on the Isle of Balfiara in High Rock, which was actually built by the Aedra themselves to judge Lorkhan. But back to the point at hand. How awesome and fun is this? The White Gold Tower is here in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. For those of you that played The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, this will be a flashback and a good old nostalgia hit for you. Now, as you can see, it's done at super low resolution, and again, that's because no one can actually, or no one's meant to be able to get this close to it. So as cool as this is, why have they done this? I'm guessing that it is possible to climb up or jump up onto a point of a mountain at the border of Skyrim in which one can look through the mountain peaks and actually see the White Gold Tower. And while I never did that in-game, for those that did, or if anyone did do it, holy moly, would that have been the most epic sight to see. And it's a lovely little tidbit of information to have. And the reason I left this one for last is because I felt like it towered above the rest. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Camel, and this has been 10 things about Skyrim that you didn't really need to know, but you totally secretly need to know. I do hope you've enjoyed the video and learned something new about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and all of the crazy things that can be found within it. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, you will definitely be interested in checking out my other Skyrim Special Edition videos that I've already done. Links to them can be found down in the description. Now, down there in the description, you can also find links to my social media. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and if you would like to support the channel in a more personal way, you can become a heroic patron on Patreon. As I'm sure you know, all of my time and energy goes into making these videos that I create for you to enjoy, so your support is most appreciated and welcomed in any and all forms. So thank you very much for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, and I will see you very shortly in the next video. I'll see you there soon.